So for number 14 from that same section last time, this is what we have. And notice that we're not approaching a number per se, we're approaching a number from a direction. We're approaching 5 from the left. So think of the number line. Let's say this is the number 5 on the number line, and we're coming at it from the left-hand side, which means we're coming at it from the left. So we want to pick this number, and then we want to pick this number, and then we want to pick this, and this. We want to get closer to 5 from the left. So for instance, this number, that can be like 4.9. This one, that could be like 4.99. That one, 4.9. You see what I'm saying? We can get closer and closer and closer to 5 because I'm tempted to plug in 5 in here, but I can't because I'm not supposed to plug in 5. I'm supposed to plug in numbers that are getting closer to 5 from the left. That would be like these numbers here. So I think it would be beneficial to make a table of values where the input is X and the output is whatever this is when I plug in some number X. And notice that I'm picking numbers that are progressively getting closer and closer and closer and closer to 5 from the left-hand side, from the smaller side. And look, if you plug 4.9 into here on a calculator, it's approximately that. If you plug 4.99, it's about this. If you plug all of these numbers, that's roughly what you get. And notice that as you get closer to 5 from the left-hand side, these outputs or the Y values, what are they doing? They're becoming deeper and deeper and deeper negatives. They are trending toward negative infinity. And so the conclusion, the answer is negative infinity. If you want, I have it graphed here on Desmos. I can show you. I typed in the original equation, which is this here, and here is the graph. And we're trying to approach 5 from the left-hand side. So here's 5, and I want to approach it from the left. And if you notice, watch, if I drag and drop, what's happening to the Y values? They're getting smaller. So we can see that as we get closer to 5 from the left, the Y values go down, 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 down. So it would be negative infinity. And the next problem is kind of the same. Here we are approaching 0 from the right. So if you think of the number line, if here's 0, we're coming at it from the right. So I want to play with that number. I want to try this one, this one, this one. I want to get closer to 0 from the right. So what could that number be? Like 0.1. That could be like 0.01, 0.001, 0.00. So you see what I'm saying? I can get closer to 0 from the right-hand side. And I have that here for us right here. So I'm picking numbers that are getting closer and closer and closer and closer to 0 from the right. And I plug these numbers into the expression. And if you look at the Y values, what's happening to the Y coordinates? They are getting bigger, 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 bigger. They are tending toward infinity. And if you want to look at the graph, so final answer. And if you want to look at the graph, so I typed in the equation for this problem here, and that's what the graph looks like. So if you're approaching 0 is right here, but if you're approaching it from the right, which is this direction, if you notice the X coordinates are getting closer to 0, but the Y coordinates are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. For instance, watch right here. If I plug in 1 into F, I get back that number. But if I plug in 0.1, if I plug in 0.1, I get 5.7. If I plug in that, I get 50, 500, 5,000. Why? Because the number that I'm plugging in is getting closer and closer and closer to 0. And the closer I get to 0, the bigger the output is. So for these two exercises in particular, I did not use L'Hopital's rule. Anytime I see that I'm approaching a number from a specific direction, I would prefer the method of a table of values. And that's probably what your teacher might prefer as well. But there are other ways of doing these types of problems, but I usually run toward a table anytime I see that I'm approaching a number from a specific direction.